TFA fam, what is going on? It is a live edition of Mock Draft Monday coming at you live. If you haven't checked out the other videos we've done, I think we have done 3 up to this point. 3, 2, 3. Is this the third one or the fourth?
Third one, brother.
Third one. Either way, you can go back and you can check those out. Those are uploaded at the old Fantasy Authority YouTube page. We got Wesley joining us back-to-back weeks, coming in numero uno, back at it. Yes, sir. Appreciate you jumping in and hanging out with us once more tonight. Joined by the CEO, the VIP, the PIC of TFA. That is one Sir Kevin Steele and Mr. Robbie Jeffries. Just coming in, being married, remodeling houses, eating mac and cheese, just getting it done, just living it up, living his best life. Tonight we're going to be doing a little bit of a zero RB strategy. Going to kind of go through that. And again, like we talked about in all the other videos, you don't necessarily want to go into a draft saying like, this is what I'm going to do. You kind of want to let the board fall to you and be able to pivot, zig when everyone else is zagging. But we just kind of want to do these to show you what your teams could like and how you would approach this sort of strategy. So before we jump into it, Kev, you have been the modified zero RB. I know that's your favorite term here out on these Twitter streets. Just wanted to get your thoughts on why you would employ. Obviously, we're not doing the anchor RB. We are doing zero RB, but just your thoughts on why someone would want to employ this strategy, and then we can just jump into it.
I actually think that this year is actually a very optimal year to actually want to employ the zero RB. Last year, it didn't feel really good. I don't feel like if you look at a lot of the running backs that were going, there was like Mark Ingram and Le'Veon Bell. There was a lot of old guys that were kind of going in the range where you would start to employ a zero RB, where essentially you do not draft a running back for the first 4 or 5 rounds. And then from there, you kind of hammer running backs, right? And the point of a zero RB is to kind of get away from the chaos of running the running back position, especially in the first 3 rounds, 4 rounds, where you're going to have a lot of landmines, right? I think last year, 5 or 6 of the top 12 running backs that were drafted did not finish as RB1s. And so there is a lot of chaos. Like before, as of this point right now, even in August, like we feel great about the running backs. We feel great about all the running backs. Like all of them are great. But it's just never how it turns out. And so that's why employing a zero RB does make some sense. And if there's guys there that you can get in that 5, 6, 7, 8 range, that makes sense. That can actually provide value. Obviously, at this situation, you are looking at drafting with optimal upside. You are not really as worried about it as far as the running back position goes as worrying about floor, right? You're looking for guys that can pay off, that can kind of hit a lottery ticket with. And then from there, in season, you're going to be doing a lot of working the waiver wire because you are going to be trying to find those other guys that fill out the rest of your roster, where a lot of guys will start dropping players, running back, stuff like that didn't really work out. You start adding those guys, and you kind of go from there. But I actually don't think this is a bad year to run the strategy, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like at least right now, if things hold kind of where they're at, where Myles Gaskin and Mike Davis and some other running backs that are going there, ETN, Javonte Williams, a lot of these running backs I feel like that are where you're going to be looking at to start this strategy, and you fill it in with guys like Zach Moss and other guys like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for zero RB, it all comes down to where you're drafting from. I'm much more comfortable going with the anchor RB approach, or some people start calling it hero RB instead of zero RB. I feel better. I feel warmer and fuzzier inside. Like if I have that one stud, that one top 12 guy, then skip it and then grab somebody like a Mike Davis as my RB2 instead of having like a Chris Carson, Mike Davis kind of pairing, or taking a Javonte Williams and hoping he's the starter by like week 2, week 3, something like that. But I think you can do it if you were toward the back end of the draft, but it's going to be interesting to see how long we hold out here. I have a feeling like I'm gonna want to pull that RB trigger a little sooner than Kev was talking about here, around 5 or so. But gonna be interesting to put this into practice for sure.
I just think that's the problem with it, right? Or people, they're like, oh, I got to feel comfortable. I got to get that running back. It's like crack, right? And it's like, I got to get it. You got to inject that heroin running back straight into your veins, and you got to have it, right? It's the same. That's how it is. If people say, oh, you got to take a running back early. You don't have to take a running back early. And at the end of the day, I feel like you can make any strategy you want work, right? There's evidence that you can make any strategy. It doesn't matter which one it is. Now, I will say zero RB is probably not as optimal as not taking that early round running back. That's why I am much more feel like the most optimal strategy this year is the anchor RB approach. But a zero RB can be done.
Yeah, for sure. And let's be brutally honest here. It all comes down to who doesn't get injured. You know what I mean? Like, if you pick the right guys and they don't get injured, you're probably going to do pretty well. Like that. Like there is a lot of luck involved. I feel like a lot of people don't really want to admit when it comes to fantasy football. Like, guess what? If you go zero RB and you pass on, I don't know, let's say you're the back end of your draft and you pass on Aaron Jones and Joe Mixon, and those guys blow up and they end up top 6, and you take, enter RBs here, 4th, 5th down the road, rounds, and those guys don't perform well, and guess what? It wasn't the right strategy. You have to hit on those players early in your drafts, and I think that's something that we all like to talk a lot about, but not recognize that unfortunately there is a lot of luck that goes into fantasy football. But before we jump into it, I want to get going here on this mock, almost 8 minutes into it. You got to give a huge shout out to the homie Walito coming through with that $20 super chat. We appreciate you. And we also are going to be going live on Wednesday as well to do a Dynasty startup mock that'll be live with some of the TFA folk and some of the people in the community. So just want to get that out of the way. Robbie, I know you got this set up here, and you've been working behind the scenes to get this ready. So go ahead and take this away. Give us the setup here, and we'll get going.
Yeah, the setup is, so I think one thing that we need to mention is that when you're looking at doing this type of strategy, you got to make sure you're looking at more of a PPR setting. Half PPR gets a little dicey. Then obviously we're probably not recommending this for your standard drafts. And then another caveat to this is you're looking here at the wide receivers, how many we're starting. It's really helpful to do this strategy when you have to start more than those 2 wide receivers. We're starting 3 in this format, and then we also have 2 flexes. So you're talking about you could start up to 5 wide receivers, and I think that's noteworthy. If you have certain settings like this, all the more likely that you might be employing this type of strategy. So we're going to be drafting from the 10 spot, I believe I selected. Yep, 10 spot. We got a 12-teamer. Let's go.
What we're going to be doing here, if you didn't check out the one we did before this, is we're just picking from one spot, and we're just going to kind of talk through our thoughts, and kind of give cases for who we want to take here, and just kind of walk you through our live. So it's just one team that all 3 of us are controlling. And you can see McCaffrey, Cook, Kamara, Barkley, Derrick Henry going off as the top 5 picks. A little bit of a wrench thrown in here with Devontae Adams coming off in the middle. That's typically not what you see. Normally it's like 6 or 7 straight running backs, and then obviously a couple more coming off the board after that with Aaron Jones, Antonio Gibson at 108, and then Mixon at 109. So obviously we can see here who we are looking at. I mean, I think there's a clear-cut choice for me. But Robbie and Kev, who do you think is the receiver here to take at this spot?
Just go ahead and lock in Tyreek.
Yeah, probably not much discussion here. Tyreek is my wide receiver 1 for a multitude of reasons, but yep, he seems like the clear-cut choice for me.
That'll make it a clean sweep. Tyreek is my one as well. Kev, I know you had A.J. Brown pre-Julio Jones, but I'm sure that has obviously changed. Have you updated have you gone through and switched stuff up since then?
Yeah, I believe I have Tyreek now at 1, and then I have AJ Brown at 5 or 6. I moved him down just a little bit. I don't think it should be anything drastic, but I think it's pretty simple with Diggs, right? I mean, I feel like that would be the optimal choice. I don't know actually, because I think Robbie has Diggs at like wide receiver 14 or something.
No, if I've got him down there, wide receiver 8. But I'm fine with Stephon Diggs here. He's right in that range. If you get past Tyreek, you get past Devontae Adams, and for me, you get past Calvin Ridley. You're talking about Hopkins and all the way down to, if you're looking down here, for me, Metcalf and Keenan Allen. I have those next 5, and AJ Brown. I have those next 5-ish wide receivers pretty interchangeable. So if you guys are feeling pretty strong on Stephon Diggs, I am absolutely okay with rolling with him.
Is this a point where obviously we're looking at the wide receiver, but Kelce is still on the board? Would you double up this early on KC pass catching options and take the tight end 1? Is it Cav being the homer? Obviously, Diggs would also be my wide receiver choice, but is this a scenario where you would think about taking Kelce or not, since we just took Tyreek?
I mean, if there's an offense that you're going to attack, this is the one to attack, right? And so, I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, I'm not as big of a fan in like redraft formats of having multiple players from one team, just because if they have a bad week, it can affect, or the fact that where a lot of weeks you could have a Tyreek blow up week, and then the next week Tyreek may get you 8, right? Because Tyreek is a little bit more. Last year he stabilized a little bit more because especially in his first 2 or 3 years in the league, it was much more of a roller coaster ride with Tyreek. He would give you 30 one week, and the next week he'd give you 5, and same thing the next week. Where he was a very boom or bust type player, but he stabilized a little bit last year. Nothing's changed with this offense. This offense is the exact same outside of a much, much better offensive line. So I don't hate going Travis Kelce here if that's what you guys wanted to do, to get a tight end early. Or we could roll the dice with Darren Waller, after this, and see if he comes back around at the end of the third. But if he's possibly there, and grab another wide receiver here, just for the sake of the argument, because if you're sitting here again, we're talking about not going into a strategy and like pinholing yourself. I know that's what we're doing, but who are the running backs that are on the board right now? Just for this, wow. Like, if we weren't forcing ourselves, there's no way that I would be able to pass on at this point if I was in the second round and Zeke and Jonathan Taylor were sitting there. There's no way, right?
No, there were definitely some weird ones who went. Like I said, I think Gibson went 108.
Eckler went ahead, and Cam Akers, and Nick Chubb.
Yeah,
all ahead of Zeke.
Like typically, like Gibson, Mixon, Akers, Eckler, and even Chubb aren't going. Like typically, you're going to see Zeke go where Devontae went in most mocks, or at least maybe even ahead of Derrick Henry. So again, since we are going 0 RB, like there's still going to be one of these top guys. It's not going to be Zeke. I don't know why he's still available in this mock, but that's that should be the pick. But for the sake of this mock, we're going to go either Diggs. I would go Diggs, but I just want to bring up the Kelce thing because I know that's a talking point that comes up every single year. Is like, should you stack an offense, especially that early with your first and second round pick? But I would go Diggs here, and then because I'm comfortable with taking even somebody like Kyle Pitts, round 4.
Yeah, I could be talked into either way. I think one interesting note when you have both of these players from the Chiefs offense is that you're going to get a good game from one or the other almost every week, right? Like we talked about having the Chiefs having a down week. I feel like there probably wasn't too many weeks, right, where either Travis Kelce didn't score a touchdown or Tyreek, and there was probably a decent amount of weeks where they both went off for you. So I really like that you can't really call it a stack, right, because you're not doing the quarterback there, but that doubling up in a really good offense. I do like Travis Kelce there, but we can absolutely go either guy here. But I just want to note that I wouldn't be afraid of an offense like this when you're talking about having two guys on the same team, because just the amount of points that they're going to put up on any given week. Honestly, if you want to talk about having two random wide receivers that might not score for you, you're going to have a better chance of wide receiver and tight end from the Chiefs than just two other wide receivers at this point. I think you're pretty safe taking both of those players.
Yeah, and the Chiefs' offense as of right now is probably maybe one of the only ones that I would feel comfortable. I think maybe you could make a case for a few others, but there's not many that I would feel comfortable with taking both the tight end and the wide receiver from, especially this early in a draft, and feel good about it. But this is definitely one. There's no other targets there, right? They didn't bring in McCole Hardman or Brian Pringle or Demarcus Robinson. All these guys are they're projected other pass catchers. So. Yeah, but I would go Diggs.
Okay.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire season. All right, let's go Diggs. Let's keep this moving. I'm also with Diggs here.
Unless Waller's on the board right now, I'm feeling like
right in front of us.
No,
it's okay, good.
Right in front of us.
So I cannot feel. I would go. Scary Terry here if it was me.
So let's take a peek here. Terry,
give me one of the Dallas receivers. I don't care which one. I'm going to end up having both the Dallas receivers over McLaurin.
Why is that?
Volume. I think it's going to be that Dallas is going to have a much higher passing volume than Washington will. Obviously, Washington's defense is much stronger than the Dallas defense. I think that because of that, like we saw what Dak. I mean, he was on pace for 700 attempts last year. Whenever he went down, I don't see. I know we like. Fitz as the YOLO DGAF kind of quarterback. He's obviously an upgrade. Terry McLaurin is kind of on that early career Allen Robinson track where he just continually puts up numbers year after year with just garbage quarterback play. But I think Cooper and Lamb both have higher ceilings than McLaurin does.
Yeah, for me, it really comes down to touchdowns. Terry didn't have a ton of touchdowns last year. You can chalk that up to a lot of his quarterback play, but I think if he gives you 2 or 3 more touchdowns than he had last year, I think he was right around 5, right around that number. If he gives you 2 or 3 more touchdowns, I think we're talking about him kind of in that range with the previous wide receiver we just saw come off the board, Metcalf, AJ Brown, that same class, right? So I'm interested to see if he can just increase that touchdown total. I think him and Cooper are going to be neck and neck. They're neck and neck in my rankings. I have McLaurin 10 and I think Cooper at 12. So I'm fine with taking either guy. Kev, do you have a preference here?
I personally wouldn't be able to pass on Terry McLaurin. I think he is a very not just safe, but I feel like his ceiling could actually be much higher with having a quarterback like Ryan Fitzpatrick. The quarterbacks he's had over the last couple of years have not been good, and say what you want about Ryan Fitzpatrick, he has been fantasy gold really over the last couple of seasons, and I get the argument with Dallas and all the pass catchers they have, but that is something that could, depending on how this volume turns out, because if they're not as pass heavy as they were last year, with all the pass catchers they have there, I just feel like Terry McLaurin has a much clearer path to volume. He had 134 targets last year, which was 9th among all wide receivers. And he missed a game in there as well. So, I think you could be looking at 150 to 160 type target season for him this year.
And Cody, because we're drafting at this 10 spot, we are going to loop around here in a couple more picks. I would assume that Lamb will be there for sure. If not, maybe we'll have our choice still between one of those 2 Dallas wide receivers. So you might be able to get your cake and eat it too. You want to go McLaurin?
Sounds like you were the deciding vote here, Jobby, so you have to break the tie.
All right, we're going to go McLaurin and see which Dallas wide receiver makes it back to us.
Piece of shit.
Oh, Cooper goes right before us. Pitts also comes off the board, and Lamar Jackson, which I think is interesting there at the 401.
This is a weird one, man. Normally Fantasy Pros mocks are pretty on point. Like, this is one of the most odd ones that I have seen. Just in terms of, like, some of the players coming off like a little earlier, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire ended up going ahead of Zeke on the way back as well. what running backs are here at this point? Like, man.
You getting nervous? You getting a little tingly? You getting the jitters?
The fall off is just so that cliff comes and it comes quick. Like have 0 RB, like 4th round, you're kind of breaking it a little bit. Do you still feel much better about the pass catchers that are here versus the running backs? Because all these guys are going to be gone. So now at the point when it comes back in the 5th for us, we're going to be looking at guys like, I mean, maybe Gaskin, maybe ETN.
I think this is what you're going to be looking at right here. Davis, ETN, Edmonds, Jacobs, Gaskin, Hunt will be some of the names left.
Yeah, I think. Listen, you understand that whenever you're doing this, that you're taking a hit. The running back, like it is what it is. But you're making up for it in the wide receivers. That we have an absolute stacked wide receiver core, right? There's nobody that's got a better wide receiver core than us. And if basically, really in the draft, if you can hit one guy, just one guy in the draft that vastly outperforms their ADP, you are set up for success because you have dodged all those landmines. You have a stacked wide receiver room. You have a stacked wide receiver core, and that's basically what you need to do. You just need to hit on one of these guys. I know it doesn't make you feel all warm and cozy inside, and like you're cuddled up on the couch on a Christmas Eve, and with a nice book or a nice movie on, and a cup of hot chocolate. You just feel all good about yourself. But that's the way to win fantasy football championships. If you feel all good about yourself, you're probably going to have a rough year.
Kev, I didn't picture you as the Hallmark Christmas movie on the couch kind of guy. I'm learning stuff.
Well, I love Christmas. That's my favorite time of the year. Anyways, who are we taking?
Oh, I love that. We're learning stuff all over the place. While Lito talked up my boy from last year, Bobby Woods, I really like Robert Woods, obviously with Matt Stafford coming over. You would hope the touchdowns increase there. Robert Woods has never been a guy that scores a huge amount of touchdowns, but I do like him. But I feel like you can get Cooper Kupp a couple rounds later and take advantage of that offense. So I'd probably lean CD here, seeing as we passed on Amari. I think he can give you some boom weeks. So I would lean CD Lamb here.
Randy Page coming through with some hot fire.
Really, is that really though? Is it really now?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is it now? I mean, I don't feel like it is. I feel like he is like one of like 4 or 5 guys that I could feel really good about that finishes a wide receiver one. The wide receiver one.
Yeah, I just finished statting. Well, I'm not all the way done with the Falcons, but he's going to have 160-ish targets. Like, this guy's going to get absolutely peppered. And if he can just jump up his touchdown rate's extremely good. I'm talking about Calvin Ridley here, but if he can just get a couple more touchdowns, we're talking about just going to 11 or 12. The yardage is there. The receptions are going to be there, and just bump him up a couple of touchdowns, which I don't think is unrealistic with the Julio Jones departure. I think he can absolutely be the wide receiver one.
Maybe hot fire was not the right term to use there, but just like it's still like a little jolting to see like the path to that is definitely there. Like it's just one of those things. Just like we're there now. All right, who are we taking?
CD.
Yeah, that'd be my vote.
Boom.
Back to back. Cowboys wide receivers go here. And we wait. Oh, Mike Davis goes quick off the cuff there.
Is Miles Sanders about to be there?
Nah, he already went.
Did he go?
Well, yeah, he already went. So after we took Lamb, it went Godwin, Mike Davis, Deontay Johnson, Woods, Evans, Kupp. So you can see there's a run on wide receivers here. Sanders and Chris Carson are the next 2 running backs to go. Dobbins sliding all the way to the 5th. That one's a little like I said. There's just one of those weird mocks from Fantasy Pros. Normally they don't fall this way, and then you can just start to see receivers just dominating these rounds here.
I think it's interesting that Mike Davis goes ahead of some of those guys, and I think you'll start to see that as we get closer and closer to the season. I think we've even talked Kevin to get old Mike Davis here, but just the volume, people are going to start looking and be like, who else do they have? Who are they going to give carries to? And this team's going to run a percentage click more maybe than they did in previous years with Arthur Smith now calling the plays. So you can see him absolutely getting 240, 250 carries, and then what else can he do on the receiving end, which he's shown to do really well in Carolina. So I can see him going that high. I think, where was he, mid-4th right there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's capable pass catcher as well. And who else do they have? Quadri Olson, 170-pound fucking Javian Hawkins. Like it's gonna be Mike Davis. And we saw what arthritis knee Todd Gurley was able to do in the beginning weeks of the season last year as well. So I'm all aboard the Mike Davis. Like, especially when you get to that late RB2 range, he's the guy that I feel, along with Chris Carson, like the safest about for sure.
Are you surprised? How do you feel about Josh Jacobs and how far he has fallen this year? At what point does he become a value, though?
Because now,
like right now.
Right now.
Do you still think he is? Like, I guess where this is, what pick this is, but like, I don't know. I do not feel great about Josh Jacobs. Like, he's never had more than like 30 targets in a season. So, and now they bring in Kenyon Drake, and they said they brought him in to be the pass catching running back. They could use. I think he's going to lose goal line touches. I mean, it's just like, I don't really love Josh Jacobs at all. Like, I will have none of Josh Jacobs just because I just think that he is far too risky. Now, if he falls to a point where it's just, if he's sitting there in the 6th, 7th round or something, then I would probably be more enticed to take him. But I just do not. I don't know. Like, it's frustrating too, because I think Josh Jacobs is a better running back than what he is being treated as in Las Vegas. But they continually have not committed to him, even though that the entire offseason, they do a whole circle jerk dance around how we feel like he was slighted last year and he didn't get Rookie of the Year, and we're gonna feed him targets and all this nonsense that John Gruden and Mike Mayock fed us last offseason and everything else. And then they bring in Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, it was really a nightmare offseason for him. You talk about bringing in Kenyon Drake. You talk about that offensive line exodus. So those are two big hits that you're going to have at any situation, right? If that happens, they're going to tumble down the draft board. And then on top of that, like, what target outside of Darren Waller scares these defenses off of the run game, right? Like, there's no huge threat there, right? So
Bryan Edwards.
That's what we're talking about, right? Bryan Edwards.
Why are you throwing that around like it's a joke? Like, is Bryan Edwards a joke to you?
Is Pepsi okay? That's what it sounded like there. Is Pepsi okay? Yeah, Bryan Edwards. Let's fire it up. I think we can still get him if we move quickly on this.
But
well, what are we looking at here? What are let's see the pass catching options, because I think it's the ones I feel. I mean, Edmonds and Jacobs are the ones who are sticking out to me from the running back position. I mean, Tyler Boyd just sitting there looking super, super pretty.
Do you have Tyler Boyd over Higgins this year?
Yes, unless you changed it because you had Higgins outside of your top 36.
Kev, do you? Who you?
I have Tyler Boyd. At like either 36 or 37.
And he's second with Higgins behind him?
Higgins is in front of him.
Okay. I think that's how I have it as well.
But here was the spot where we would start looking at running back, right?
Right.
Like, I don't think we have to go wide receiver here. We're obviously now stacked and we are in a position of strength there. So I think we go I think running back is a spot. Or, I mean, if we really wanted to, because we pick at a couple picks, and if we feel like one of these guys can still be there, we could possibly go quarterback here as well and grab an earlier round quarterback. Because especially with Dak falling where he did, we have that stack where you'd have it with CeeDee Lamb. If you wanted to go Kyler here.
What's the tight ends look like? Molito's saying that Hawk is the pick here.
I mean, there's definitely a tier drop after Hawk, which you can make a case for why you take him here. At quarterback, I view Kyler and Dak pretty close. I'd be okay with either one, and then you have in my opinion, another tier drop. So if you're talking about not doing running back, you almost lean Hawk there because then it's a little bit of a drop off. But I'm kind of with you guys here. I think we need to get a running back, and then we take either Hawkinson, Kyler, or Dak, whoever we feel like is the best rain option, or we double dip at running back.
So to me, a running back, if we're going to take one of these running backs, I'm not like to me, Myles Gaskin would probably be the guy that I'd want to go with. I like Myles Gaskin a lot this year. I do think there is a possibility that maybe one of these other guys gets the opportunity, but I don't know. They were committed to him all year last year. Even once he got hurt, he came back and he took right back over where he left off. He was he was dynamic in every aspect of that backfield. The offense is going to be better this year with adding Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle, John Ross 2.0, and some of these other guys that they have in this wide receiver room. So I like Myles Gaskin the most. I think he has the highest upside of these guys. Travis Etienne would be a second, close second here at this spot.
Yeah, I think going back to the beginning of this show, we talked about how 2020 sometimes we had J.K. Dobbins, we had Cam Akers, we had Jonathan Taylor, we had these lower running backs when you drafted them because they had timeshares, right? Pop off later in the year, and they were really the league winners. Antonio Gibson was a later round. If you went 0 RB and snapped him up, you probably reaped the rewards. And I feel like that's the type of, I know I just named a lot of rookies, but I'm thinking the younger backs, the backs we haven't quite seen, those are the guys I want to take shots on. I hear the Myles Gaskin. I'm okay with that, but I feel like Travis Etienne is maybe that higher upside. Sure, he might not be the one rocking for you the first handful of weeks, but I think eventually he can turn into what Antonio Gibson was for you in 2020. So
or DeAndre Swift, like he could be a DeAndre Swift.
Right, exactly. So kind of what Christian's saying here. I think I prefer hitting some of these rookies or some of these guys that eventually maybe the first 4 weeks they're not great for you, but they could be league winners when you hit week 7, week 8, week 9, and going all the way to the playoffs.
I mean, this is gross anyway, so let's just swing for upside.
That's what you should be doing anyway.
Which is who, Cody? Who's your upside guy?
Okay, it's Etienne. I think I would feel if we were going like guys that are like you can like plug in and feel okay about. I think I might lead Edmonds at this point just because of the offense that he resides in. But upside, it's Etienne because like let's say he takes. Let's say he gets 30% of the carries, but he's being used a lot more. This is full PPR, like we said at the outset of the draft. Let's say he's being used more in the passing game than James Robinson is. Like that alone can make up for whatever lack of carries he's seeing. Like we have seen, could he potentially be like a discount son of a bitch? Could he be a discount? Like Austin Eckler, you know what I mean? Like Austin Eckler is a guy who's seen like 150, maybe not even 150 carries. Obviously, he's not going to get to that level of receiving production, but could be like a Walmart brand Austin Eckler.
I think it's possible. I mean, he's going to get opportunity no matter what. I mean, it's same. I mean, he's not going to be the lead back. It's going to be James Conner until week 4, until James Conner gets hurt, but I mean, it's possible that James Conner stays healthy and he has like a Kenyon Drake type season. I mean, I definitely think that's in the range of outcomes. I mean, we've seen James Conner be productive, and I know he always gets hurt, and we always expect him to get hurt, and he probably will get hurt. But if he doesn't get hurt, I think he is going to be a big thorn in the Chase Edmonds side. And again, if we're going for upside here, the pick is easy, and we're going to go Javonte. Who also has, we could be talking once we get to August where we're laughing at taking Javonte in the 5th or 6th round, where he's going in the 3rd or the 2nd. If he ends up they naming him the starter and he's going to be the guy, and we get all this reports out of camp that he is just dominating and, looks like the guy that we saw at North Carolina where he was just running through motherfuckers' faces every single week at North Carolina and making Michael Carter look like an afterthought, then
unnecessary.
Disclaimer: they literally had the same production. He was not an afterthought.
But let's just we can just put on the tape and we'll talk about. You all talk about which one looked better. But so it's Javonte. It's 100% Javonte here, and of course I had to take that shot with you guys on here.
Of course you did.
Or does it make sense? Okay.
Well, yeah. I guess I was just going to ask: do we want to lock in either Kyler or Hockenson and have that advantage at either of those positions? Or do we want to start pounding running back at this point in the juncture?
Yes, we want to take running back.
Cody,
we need to take as many shots on running back because we have passed all of that. So we need to take as many as we possibly can.
Well, I guess my thought is if you're doing zero running back, like let's actually do zero running back. Let's have the advantage at quarterback. Let's have an advantage at tight end because I don't want my running backs to be worse than everybody else, and then also my quarterback, and then also my tight end. If I'm going to do zero running back, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for these guys lower down and have to take some shots on maybe some of these rookies that are even further down. Michael Carter, who you mentioned before, Trey Sermon, who we haven't talked about yet. It's going to look gross. And I think Javonte obviously is the guy that jumps off the page here, but I don't want to go into every single matchup saying, well, this guy probably has a better quarterback. He has better running backs. He has a better tight end. Man, my wide receivers better come through for me. You know what I mean? Like that's just my one caveat to going running back in a zero RB strategy. We're not
punting the quarterback position. There's still a ton of quarterbacks that are sitting out there.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not like we're at a dire strait here at the quarterback position, or I guess tight end. There's an argument to be made with T.J. Hockenson, but there's an argument on the other side that offense is just truly terrible, and there's very limited touchdown upside, and and he's not nearly as good as that we think he should be, just because we think he's going to get all the targets. So, because I do think there's going to be other guys. DeAndre Swift's going to get a ton of targets there. And, so I don't know. Like, to me, at this point, if I'm not getting Kelsey, Darren Waller, or Kittle, it's wait till later. There's no reason. I'm not taking one of these middle round guys. Like, those are three. Give me those guys early, because that's where the true positional value comes, that advantage comes, is taking those guys. It's not taking, Hockenson likely still finishes 100 points behind those guys. Like, so is it truly that big of an advantage when you look at Hockenson next to the other guys? Like, the reason you take Kelsey, Waller, and Kittle is because they are going to vastly outscore the rest of the tight ends, and they are going to run circles around them. And so if we were going to do that, we should have taken Waller or Kelsey whenever we were going to do that, in my opinion.
Yep. No, we definitely could have taken Kittle or taken Kelsey. So let's roll with Javonte here and see what is left when we get back on for our 7th round pick.
My only other thought there, only other pick would have been Kyler. Because I think if you look at the rest of the quarterbacks that were there, like Kyler was the last one who I felt has the QB1.
Yep, that's exactly. Yep. Because now you look at all these guys, they're all in one big heap for me. We might as well wait on the quarterback until the end now, because all these guys can finish above each other. I think Kyler was the last of a tier for me.
Yep.
This is probably what people would call the running back dead zone, I think is what it's been dubbed. Normally it was a little bit earlier, but we're seeing it.
Go to the cheat sheet they have and mark off the high tiers and the high drafted players.
What do you mean mark
off?
Whoa.
Top right.
Good night.
High
Good
tiers.
Advanced here.
High drafted players.
There. Let's go.
Because I want to see actually who's available, not their terrible projections of who you should take.
Hey, Justin Tucker's still out there if we're itching.
I think for me, Kareem Hunt would be a guy that I would look at this point for sure. Considering I think in other mocks I've seen him go like late 4th, early 5th. So I feel like he is a value kind of at this point. If anything happens to Chubb, which obviously we have to remember that he had that gruesome knee injury at his time at Georgia. So if anything happens to him, that's going to be Kareem Hunt's backfield, obviously running behind one of the best lines in football. So I think for, the same thing you were talking about, Robbie, with all those quarterbacks lumped together at this point, all the tight ends are going to be lumped together as well. I mean, wide receiver, if we want to shoot upside at some wide receivers, we can take some guys who are a little more boom bust. But to me, I think the one to go here is Hunt.
Yeah, this is I don't really love taking anybody, but Hunt obviously has fallen. He's a value at this point. He has standalone value in that offense that runs as much as they do. So yeah, I think Hunt is probably the tier above the rest of those guys, and all the quarterbacks look the same to me, and all the tight ends look the same to me. So, Kev, are you in agreement?
No. If it was me, I would probably either hit quarterback and go either Russ or Jalen Hurts here, or I think another wide receiver, because I believe we have one more wide receiver flex spot to fill, and so if we wanted to go wide receiver here, we could. And to be honest with you, if you're doing this approach and you get to the 7th and 8th rounds, right, and you can, in my opinion, because knowing that you're not going to get to pick again till once you go 7th and 8th, you're not going to pick again till the back half of the 9th, right? Because of where we're picking, and so this is the time you should start taking your guys and not worry about well, their ADP says they should take him here, like Michael Carter, for example. If you guys feel great about Michael Carter this year, and that's the guy you think, this guy's being undervalued, you take Michael Carter here. You don't wait and say, well, if he comes back around to me in the 9th, I'll take him, right? You're at the point, especially when you're doing something like zero RB, you're going to have to, drop your nuts on the table, as they say, and get a little bold with some of this. So I don't want to just take a running back because of, well, I have to take a running back here, right? There's no way in hell I would take a Melvin Gordon, especially obviously we have Javonte, but even if we didn't have him, I wouldn't take Melvin Gordon. I can't take Mostert because of that backfield. I can't take Leonard Fournette, David Johnson. All those guys are off my list. I am looking for the moon here. And so I think Michael Carter could end up, I think he's somebody that I would strongly look at taking. Like, throw the ADP out the window. You have to take your guy.
Hey, don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah, I think you brought up one interesting name for me. I think one of those Bucks backs between Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, when you saw that it was just one of them on the field, they have a ton of potential. And we know that there are injuries at that position. And if we're going that zero RB situation, it's the who can produce if there's an injury, who can produce if there's a situation change. And that's an offense that's going to score a lot. Tom Brady's going to be in the red zone a lot. And we saw a lot of touchdowns from those backs. And so it's just that there's two of them, right? That's why they're down. If there was just one, we're talking about a top 16 running back probably. So one of those two is somebody I'd like to take a swing on. I think Michael Carter will still be there for us. So if you're talking about taking your guy, you guys know I'm a Rojo guy. I'd be fine with either Bucks back here, but one of them is definitely, if something were to happen, has that upside of a great offense.
You think they do though? With them bringing in Gio? I mean, Gio's not LaShawn McCoy, who's washed and over the hill, right? We saw him in last year in Cincinnati, and what was a terrible offense, and put up some good performances. Like, I think Gio Bernard is going to be a much bigger problem for these running backs than I think people are giving him credit for. I think people will look at Gio and it's like, oh, it's just like LaShawn McCoy. It's not a big deal. Nothing to worry about there. Nothing to see here, guys. And I think he's actually going to be a much bigger problem than people think to this backfield.
I think he might limit Leonard Fournette's catches because Leonard Fournette was playing on third down more than Ronald Jones was, but you're not giving the ball on first and second down to Giovanni Bernard over Leonard Fournette or Ronald Jones. There's just no way that's happening. So maybe 2-minute drill situation, maybe you are talking about a hit there, but yeah, I mean that obviously is a case to be made and why they're probably going where they are down here.
So my vote would be either Zach Moss or Michael Carter. Michael Carter. Those would be my 2 votes.
Yeah, no on Zach Moss. That's like last guy I want to take. That I just don't see any upside from that. I mean, I know you're a big Zach Moss over Devin Singletary, but every single you talk about who can produce more, and we saw that on the ground. Devin Singletary scored PPR points from on the field and pass catching. So he's a guy that I want out of that backfield. Singletary over Moss.
Okay, so
I'm not going to be any help. I still like Kareem Hunt here.
Yeah, let's do Kareem Hunt because I think a lot of these guys make it back to us. Sorry, we are taking forever on this pick. That was a lengthy but good discussion.
But that's whenever you get to this point of drafts, like Kev was saying, like I think you do throw ADP out the window. I wasn't necessarily talking about taking Hunt because of his ADP. Like he did slip there, but you're still talking about a team that's going to run the ball often. I mean,
right.
It's crazy to think how the production that Chubb put up on less than 50% snap share last year. So Hunt is still going to be still going to be involved. And if anything happens to Chubb, you want to talk about the moon. I think that is well within the range of possibilities for Hunt.
Yeah, and I think we just keep on hitting that running back. I mean, we've brought up Michael Carter multiple times. Some of the Bucs guys we brought up. I think we just keep on hitting running back at this point.
Yeah, I want either Michael Carter. I mean, I guess Zach Moss, but I know you guys don't want Zach Moss. So I'm going to say Michael Carter or Tony Pollard. I'm okay with both.
Yeah, I know this is someone that you were fond of, Kev, and shout out to Christian Welch in the chat who just dropped a video on this guy I'm going to bring up. What about Pittman at this point?
Yeah, I mean, we took Pittman as our wide receiver 4 last time we did this go around, and I like him at that spot. If you're talking about he's your sub flex when he has a good matchup, I think that's a really good spot for him because I'm not loving T.Y. Hilton at that age. I do like their improvement at quarterback, so he's absolutely a guy. If you're looking at who's left here at wide receiver, that stands out to me.
Or Kev is the move here with the zero RB strategy, just keep slamming running backs. Because I'm obviously fine with Michael.
Yeah, because so eventually you're going to get to a point with running backs where you're really, really hoping for the ceiling is further away for these guys than it is for some of these other ones, right? Like I feel like with all the guys that are left, I feel like the guys that have the absolute nuts in terms of the upside is guys like Michael Carter and Tony Pollard. Like I want those guys before they come off the board, because then you're really going to be looking at some real dart throws, in my opinion. Where a wide receiver, you're going to feel pretty good for a while with the guys that we have, especially.
All right, let's roll Michael Carter.
Oh, did the Jets actually get that lineman? His Moses. Did Moses actually sign with the Jets? I know that the report was coming in that they were getting close to adding him, but I did not see if there was an actual signing. Do either of you guys know off the top of your head?
I don't think they have.
Okay.
I was surprised that Trey Turner is still sitting out there. He has a few good seasons with the Panthers, and then was traded to the Chargers last year, but I was surprised that he was still sitting out there, that no one had picked him up. But
leave it to the Steelers to want to sign a guy at a position where they are strong at.
Ooh. Tony Pollard still sitting out. I absolutely I want Tony Pollard in every draft that I'm in.
I just don't get it. I'm not of the same mindset.
His ceiling is high. Of all the guys that are sitting here, his ceiling shatters them, right? Because if obviously we're banking at the end of the day that an injury is going to come, right? That if something happens to Zeke, because if something happens to Zeke, it is absolutely wheels up, lottery ticket, cash it in. We are dancing in the streets, buck naked, happy, course, we don't want anything to happen to Zeke, but I'm not wishing something happens on him. But if it does, Tony Pollard wheels up.
I think it's interesting that you bring that up because the guy I look at the exact same way, but better than him is Alexander Madison because they have the same upside. You've seen them produce when they've gotten in there, they both produce. And which running back gets injured more? The guy who hasn't played a 16-game season his entire career, or the guy that just missed his first game due to injury this last year? I'm absolutely taking Alexander Madison over Tony Pollard.
Alexander Madison almost has routinely shit the bed when given opportunities, whatever Dalvin Cook has went out.
No way. Like there's been plenty of weeks. He's going into his third season, especially that his rookie season. He came
in 2019, the most points he ever scored was 11.8, was the highest points he scored in there, right?
You tell me. I don't have him on the top of my head.
Yeah. Oh, I know this stuff because I've rostered him plenty of times in DFS whenever it was Alexander Madison week when Dalvin Cook went down. And every fucking time he fucks you over because he doesn't do shit.
But I'm going to throw a different running back into the fold here just to keep in the back of our minds. And I'm going to throw Gus Edwards into the fold at this point.
Yeah, another name if you're talking about the secondary back in that backfield, if there were something to happen to the starter, I like Gus Edwards as well over Pollard. But the guy for me is Trey Sermon, a guy that's probably going to take over the backfield. We don't have to wait for an injury. He's probably going to have that ascension similar to what we've seen from other running backs this past year. So he's the guy that I like in a run-first system. If Trey Lance does become the quarterback, that obviously opens it up, running lanes for their running backs. In that Kyle Shanahan running offense. So he's the clear-cut guy for me here.
Shout out Walito, $5 super chat.
I feel like we gotta pull the trigger on Latavius now. Jeez.
I would rather give Walito $10 back to not take Latavius Murray here. It does seem like Walito and Christian both like Hurts here. We haven't talked about any of the running backs, but let's make a pick regardless. Or are we going?
Yeah, let's go Jalen Hurts. I like that pick. Because look at the quarterbacks that are sitting there. I mean, Joe Burrow, I think you feel okay about, but there's a pretty steep kind of tier fall once you get past kind of Hurts and Burrow. But I think that Hurts represents that last guy who has that Konami code upside, that rushing upside. I think Jalen Hurts 800, 900 rushing yards is well within the possibility this year for him.
Yeah, we can absolutely do Jalen Hurts if Cody's on board.
I'm fine with it. I mean, I have Burrow ahead, but I know Kev is a staunch Hurts.
You're both wrong.
I don't have them super far apart. I just like Burrow's passing upside and those weapons a lot better. But Hurts has the rushing up. Burrow is kind of sneaky in his ability to escape the pocket. I can't imagine they're going to want him running all that often. There's not going to be the design play calls the way there will be for Jalen Hurts. But if we're talking Konami code, yes, Hurts above Burrow, but I have Burrow above Hurts because I like those weapons a lot more. But I'm fine with Hurts.
I think Hurts makes sense right now for this team because talk about the risk reward with Hurts. He could be the guy that you're questioning middle of the season, like what were they doing at quarterback, or he could be the guy that's QB1 and just absolutely tearing it up with his rushing ability. So I think Burrow is the safer option, but I think for what our team is right now, I'd like to take that swing with Hurts.
Yeah, we'll go with it. Lock him in. Are we doing? I didn't see. Oh, yes, never mind. I see that we are doing kicker and defense. Do we want to take Justin Tucker yet?
Man, the itch is coming.
Just real quick, I know we're going a little long here. We have to start firing off some of these picks, but is there anybody in that New England backfield that you like? Do we want Damian Harris at this point?
I think he would be the guy. He would be the guy if I wanted anybody. I think he would be it. I think we've seen enough from Damian Harris. I think that if they committed to him, if their defense, if this team can take a step forward offensively, I think we could be looking back where Damian Harris is a guy that finishes like a RB2, maybe high-end RB2, mid-range RB2. It wouldn't surprise me if this offense can take a step forward this year. It'll probably be with Mac Jones. It probably will not be with Cam Newton. But I do think, I think they've told us kind of what they want to do. They are going to be very heavily committed to running the football and, utilizing the tight ends. So I don't hate Damian Harris. I just don't think he has like a really high ceiling either. So
yeah, that's why I wouldn't advocate for the pick at all, because I don't see that ceiling. Crowded backfield. A long time ago, someone said you never draft New England Patriot backs. That it's always been conjumbled, going back all the way to Jonas Gray, Burkhead.
That's not the it's you always take the cheapest one of the New England backfield,
and you'll get 2 good games, and then he'll fade away. James White had his 100 catch year, and then he faded. You just really can't ever count on those guys. So if you guys both want them, we can take them.
Oh no, I was not making. I was just he asked about it, so I answered the question.
Yeah,
it is absolutely Tony fucking Pollard who's still sitting on the board.
I would advocate for Trey Sermon. Cody, I will let you be the tiebreaker. You guys always put me in that position. I'm gonna force it on you. And don't say a third name.
So would you kill me if I brought up Jalen Reagor to go with the to go with a mini stack here?
No, honestly not.
I mean, between those two,
if you're going to go wide receiver, here's I would go Mike Williams or Darnell Mooney if I was going to go wide receiver, because Mike Williams could end up being somebody as well that we look back on with this offense, a much better offensive line, giving Herbert an opportunity to actually throw from a clean pocket. Their offensive line is going to be dramatically better. Mike Williams, if he stays healthy, obviously the deep threat there. Another situation where they didn't really add a whole lot outside of Palmer in the 3rd round at wide receiver. So Mike Williams could end up, paying off a little bit this year, maybe 800 yards, 8 to 10 touchdowns. I don't think that would be out of the range of possibility for him. So, and going this late, and then obviously Darnell Mooney, we all know how I feel about him. But if it's me, I would go Tony Pollard. But
Robbie, do any of those wide receivers stand out to you, or are you on the RB train right now?
I think we need to just keep on hammering the 0 RB is how many guys can we get and hope that 2 of them pop right and make our season, because our wide receivers are that strong. I think you just keep on hammering running back because our wide receivers are so strong. We're probably not playing any of these guys unless we get a ton of injuries or bye weeks, right? So any wide receiver we take is just going to be sitting on our bench for most of these weeks. I think you just keep on hammering running back.
Can I interest you guys in Gus Edwards?
He'll be there. He'll be there.
Then give me Pollard.
You guys are ridiculous. We're gonna take a backup running back.
Well, you're taking a backup running back right now with Trey Sermon. Like I think
with his 8 carries that he's got to get a game.
Trey Sermon could be the same way that we look at Javonte Williams by the time week 1 rolls around, but right now there's just more in front of him. We also have to remember they added Wayne Gallman. Jeff Wilson's still there, even though he's been banged up already. Raheem Mostert's still there. So, would it surprise me if Sermon is the week 2 starter to the end of the year? No, but I think as we're sitting here right now, Pollard could have some standalone value. And then if anything happens to Zeke, like if he gets banged up again, I think Pollard would be he's just a little bit closer in terms of that depth chart as we sit here today on June 21st.
Yeah, I know we're going long, but I think this is a good discussion. I don't think Tony Pollard has any standalone value. Like we're not going to have a point where we're like Zeke's healthy and in the starting lineup. I also want to throw in Tony Pollard. Like there's never going to be a week where that's the case, in my opinion. And I think you made a good point with the busy backfield, right? For the 49ers, we had a busy backfield with the Colts last year when Jonathan Taylor came in. We had a busy backfield with Cam Akers, right? We had a busy backfield with Antonio Gibson, right? Adrian Peterson was there. They signed Peyton Barber, right? Peyton Barber, Wayne Gallman. Like, that's the first name that I thought of when you said him, which probably is a little disrespectful to Wayne Gallman. But these backfields look busy, and then these rookies just take off halfway through the year. And so that's why I think when you're doing zero RB, targeting these rookies that we haven't seen, that they got decent draft capital, they're going to get playing time eventually. Tony Pollard, we're banking on an injury. We're banking on an injury, and that's about it. So that we can move on, but I just wanted to make that last point that I think when there's a crowded backfield at the beginning of the year, you're like, I don't know about this guy, but those clear out, right? I think the cream rises to the top.
You don't think there's no chance Elijah Mitchell could be the guy?
We could take a swing on him in the 15th round. I'm absolutely down with that. Ooh, look who's sitting here at the top of this board. That's looking good right there. 110, 115 target Russell Gage. We got Rager, John Brown, who I think Kev has a little bit of a liking for with taking over the Nelson Aguilar role potentially. Anybody else stand out here for you guys?
Well, I think if I was going to go wide receiver, I would probably go Sterling Shepard.
Really?
Whoa.
Over Gage?
What's the Sterling Shepard love? Because I feel like he's kind of.
I think that he is a solid wide receiver who I think will probably give you a lot of wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 weeks.
With Galladay coming over, with Saquon back, and now they got Kadarius Toney playing a similar position. Like, I feel like he's a guy I want nothing to do with. Like, he might get 70 targets on the whole year, want nothing to do with him.
Well, I mean, you're taking him on the 11th round. So, I mean.
Right, but we're talking about a guy, Russell Gage can get 100. He had 100 and some targets last year, and now he isn't splitting time as that wide receiver 3. He's definitely the wide receiver 2 with Julio gone. So that's a locked in probably 100 targets if he's healthy. Jalen Rager, I think same thing. He's going to get near that threshold with just Goddard and Devonta Smith there. So I think those are two guys.
I think there's a little bit too much hate for Sterling Shepard here going on. I mean, he is a steady, consistent wide receiver. Last year, 8 of his 10 weeks, he scored double-digit fantasy points. As a guy that you're not. I mean, clearly not somebody you're going to be starting every single week. These are guys that you're looking to, and when bye weeks come and stuff like that, depending on their schedule. But I definitely think Sterling Shepard from the slot is going to see 100 targets this year, at least. And so I think 100 targets is probably a fair projection for him, I think, in this offense. And
did he see that last year without Galladay, without Barkley?
He had 90, but in 12 games.
Okay.
So.
Real quick, Walito, I saw your question about Houston's backfield. We'll tackle that at the end. For me, Kev, I'm surprised that you are talking about taking somebody like Sterling Shepard when you are swinging for the fence, especially at this point of the draft. And Sterling Shepard is just one of those steady Eddie guys. And whenever I just peeked back over at our wide receiver room with Hill, Diggs, McLaurin, and Lamb. Unless this team just absolutely implodes, Sterling Shepard is never going to enter the conversation. I think if we're looking at upside, I think Rager is a chance I would take to get that little bit of a stack.
If we're shooting for stealing, Russell Gage would be off the list as well. I think that if it was me, and if you're shooting for stealing, it would be McCole Hardman, it would be Paris Campbell, and it would be Elijah Moore would be the guys that I would be looking at.
I'm good with Elijah Moore.
Okay, that's a lot of trust in a rookie-led offense, new OC, a couple other guys in that room, but
there will be no Elijah Moore slander in this.
There's no Elijah Moore slander. There is just questions with where the upside. We're talking ceiling, and I mean, we're talking about probably an offense that's going to be bottom of the league compared to, Mecole Hardman's obviously, we've had this discussion on the last one. I want to talk about potentially the wide receiver 2 in the best offense. That's the ceiling, right? Like if things go right, Mecole Hardman is the wide receiver 2 balling out behind Kelsey and Hill. If everything goes right for Elijah Moore, it's the Jets have it's amazing turnaround with their offense. Corey Davis isn't clicking. Denzel Mims running behind. Keelan Cole, the beloved Keelan Cole, has been pushed back. So that's just the question there with what the upside is with Elijah Moore in year 1. And they still have Jamison Crowder too. So
Stop.
He took the pay cut. I mean, he's gonna be out there.
Right.
He had no. We have to keep this going.
We're spending way too much time discussing our 7th wide receiver.
We're too much time giving fantasy content.
Pull up the cheat sheet again, Robbie. I mean, for me, I'm looking at, I think there's a handful of those running backs that like I feel kind of like in the same vein about with Jamal, Latavius, you know what I mean? Some of those guys.
Let's go Rager.
Okay. Boom. Now let's have a half-hour discussion on our 12th round pick.
Oh, man, they snatched out Shepard right from underneath of us. I'm very distraught. We cannot get his high upside.
Murray and Williams both go as well.
Let's go. Go back to with all the picks. I say let's go Paris Campbell or Elijah Moore.
I'd still take Gage over them. Guy that's probably going to see 30, 40 more targets than both of them. But Cody, I think you are an Elijah Moore fan. Do you want to roll with Moore here?
Yeah, I like Elijah Moore as well.
It
wouldn't surprise me if
we still have 3 bench. Well, is there a wide receiver that besides him? Because I think we could probably wait and get him.
Where is he? Am I missing him?
Has he already been taken?
We're talking about a guy that's not even left. This is good content, boys. Elijah Moore already gone.
Well,
see, you sons of bitches. We could. All right, so it's Paris Campbell then for me.
Cody,
any love for Rondale Moore here?
He just wants
Paris
to get
Campbell.
More on the team.
That or Darrell Henderson. That would be the other guy that I would look at if we want to go back to running back. But
I'd like to keep on hammering running back. Like we said before, now we have Jalen Reagor as our wide receiver 4. I don't think we need to really add another wide receiver on this team. With the bye weeks later in the year, if we need to make a move, we can pick wide receivers. You can find them on the waiver wire. I honestly think we finish this out, all running backs, take our tight end, and then defense kicker. So that would be my option.
Yeah.
Take Darrell Henderson, take Madison. We're not going to start this wide receiver unless it's extremely bad for us.
I literally forgot about tight end. Who's
I've been keeping a little eye on. It was Tunyon. Well, how far does this go down? There you go. Tunyon, Gesicki. I like Higbee a little bit further down. Smith a little bit further down. I don't think we need to take anybody quite yet. I think we wait there.
Give me
Troutman's also there.
Give me Henderson.
Can I draft from right here? Is this a thing? Can I just click add? There we go. All right, let's wrap this up. Kev, are you of the same mindset where we just finish this out with running back and take as many shots as we can? Wide receiver, we're probably good. Quarterback, we're probably all right. If there's, the bottom falls out with Hurts, we can find somebody and stream them. Obviously, we'll take a tight end at some point, but are you of the same mindset? We just hammer running back here?
I mean, I don't mind taking a wide receiver again. I mean, we have what? Two
spots left.
We have 6 running backs taken. So I mean, I don't mind taking a shot, with one of these last 2 on a wide receiver, somebody that, whether it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially in a PPR format. I mean, I don't think he has like an incredibly high, like, I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to get you, 1,300 yards. But I think very well. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up the year, as long as he is the starting slot wide receiver, very well could be 60, 70 receptions. And obviously in a PPR format, that's going to be very valuable. So I don't mind going there on that pick.
Yeah, he feels like that. Sorry, Cody. He feels like that's safe. We have a bye week. You can fill somebody in, and he's going to get 5+ catches. The yardage might not be super high. Touchdown upside is probably limited, but you're at least getting points for that week. That would be one strategy to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It'd be like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Terrace Marshall, or Marquez Callaway would probably be all the guys that I would look at.
Yeah, because I was kind of the same mindset as you. Is I want to look at one of these Saints wide receivers, and again, I'm still of the ceiling floor mindset that if Traquan Callaway, either one, who is the other name that popped up here for me? Gabe Davis. I'm bigger on Gabe Davis. So I think some of those higher powered offenses, guys that could step into roles, those would be guys for me. But Cody, who do you got?
I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're never going to hear me say a bad word about. I think he could be a discount Jarvis Landry. I also like Rondell Moore and Brian Edwards there, obviously.
I went with Amon-Ra, and we are back up now. We have 2 more picks, and then probably have to fill this out with defense and kicker, which I know everyone's been waiting around for. Sorry, we have not gotten to it quite yet. We're going to wait for the last 2 rounds to take defensive and kicker.
Tight end look like?
I'd love to just do Higbee or Irv Smith. Cody, you're kind of bigger on Irv Smith. Do you want to paint the case for him real quick?
I can't, because Mike Zimmer is a fucking dinosaur piece of shit. So no, give me Tyler Higbee.
My vote would either be Higbee or Adam Troutman, because I think Adam Troutman also has a pretty high ceiling.
Yep, I agree with both of those. And it's interesting because I was off of the Tyler Higbee bandwagon, but with Everett leaving town, I think a lot of those tight end targets get soaked up by him. So I really like him there. Let's lock that in.
We got this question from AKP coming in. Thoughts on Gio, Kenny Gainwell, or Evans for deep 0 RB targets?
Gainwell, I think, takes over that Boston Scott role. So I think you have some PPR appeal there. It doesn't sound like they want to make Sanders their workhorse back at all. That's just kind of been the buzz I've seen all off season. He has been a player that's been known to get injured as well. So I like Gainwell as a later shot for your team. That's absolutely a guy. And then we talked about it before, Chuba. I don't love the player per se, but we obviously saw it work out last year with CMC. Now, I'm not going to project he goes down 2 years in a row, but basically we're at a point where who's probably the most likely clear-cut number 2 guy. Darrington Evans is another guy I would like taking a swing on here. I'd probably take him over Chuba. But yeah, I think Kenneth Gainwell, to answer the question, is definitely a good option if you're going 0 RB.
What about Larry Roundtree?
I don't know. He has an equal chance of not making the roster or being the running back too. Like for me, I wouldn't be surprised either way.
No, but that's what I mean. At this point, we don't have all that information, right? So we don't know. But I mean, if Josh Kelly didn't really look like the man last year, he did not look very good, and so Justin Jackson's always hurt. They drafted Larry Roundtree, and so At this point, as we're sitting here, I don't mind taking a shot on somebody like that, who we know Eckler's going to get 15 to 18 touches a game, right? And so somebody there is going to be relevant, and so I don't mind taking a shot on would be something like him as well. But I think Kenny Gainwell is also a fine option for somebody as kind of that shot, and also Chuba Hubbard. I think also
I'm with AK here. Out of the names he listed here, I would have Kenny G above slightly, just because again we talked about that Tampa Bay backfield. Darrington Evans, I know we liked coming in as a rookie last year, but how much is he really going to see, especially now that they added Julio? Maybe if Julio wasn't in the mix, we could see some more targets opening up for for Evans, and Evans feels like one of those guys that, like, if Derrick Henry goes down, it's not going to be just thrown on Evans. I think he maybe enters a committee kind of split, but I agree. I think it was kind of weird to see Gainwell fall as far as he did, but I agree with AK with AK here with talking about Sirianni coming from Indy to Philly, and just with Hines and how he has been utilized. And I think Gainwell, he might have been the best pass catcher out of the running backs in the out of the rookie class last year or this year.
One other name that we haven't brought up that I think it's interesting. There's a lot of conversation about Barkley and where he's at in his return from his injury. And I think Devontae Booker is kind of that next guy up in that offense. He has the pass catching chops that Wayne Gallman didn't have last year. We saw Wayne Gallman have some success in the replacement for Barkley. And that's a guy that nobody is talking about. I mean, he had 93 carries last year. And I was like, when did Devontae Booker get those carries? But didn't do that poorly in that limited amount of work. So if we're talking about those handcuffs, running back twos, he'd be a guy that I might take a swing on with my last pick in a draft.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think that would be. I also like Darrynton Evans you brought up. I think he is somebody that everybody is just completely forgetting about and shouldn't be. Was somebody who had the draft capital and was hurt all of last year, so he didn't really do anything. So he wasn't on anybody's mind. And I do think that he is going to be more involved this year. I think they probably give him pass catching work. And, if anything happens to Derrick Henry, which for a running back that is getting up there in age and that has had the amount of work that he's had, I don't think it would be shocking if Derrick Henry got hurt. I'm not calling for it and predicting it, but I just think that it's something that people should be having in their back of their mind for somebody that's getting up there at the age that he is, that's had the amount of carries that he's had over the last couple of years. We kind of see this where guys, cross this apex of touches, and he's getting up there, past the where you really want to mess around with a running back. So of that age. So I don't mind taking a shot on Darrynton Evans, who I think in this, who else is there? There's not a whole lot there. So I like Darrynton Evans a lot as somebody there. And I talk about him every time, but Jerick McKinnon continues to be a guy that I wouldn't mind taking a shot on in the later rounds in a PPR format.
I'm good with Darrynton Evans if Cody is as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
As I wrap this up, any thoughts?
Justin Tucker.
As you guys see the roster over here on the left, anyone want to kind of take first stabs at? Yeah, let's go kicker before the defense. Just throw all caution to the wind here.
Yeah, I mean with Tucker sitting there, 100%.
We should have taken him in the 10th, to be honest with you. So to get
I
him,
thought about taking him in the last round.
Kev, thoughts on the team as we have it? We'll even lock in your Chiefs defense here.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said, who else do they have there? Meaning they don't have anybody else there.
Yep.
Well, look at that.
Look at his draft grade.
An A- grade on a 0 RB team.
Wow.
That is what I'm. Thank you. See, thank you, Fantasy Pros.
Oh man, Cody, thoughts on the team as it lays here before us?
Yeah, anytime that you employ the 0 RB strategy, if you're someone like me who likes I like to feel warm and cozy inside. I do like that hallmark, curled up on the couch, little fleece blanket, some Ben and Jerry's going, some candles being lit. The running backs aren't going to make you feel great. This is a team where we could look at, week 2 and be like, well, Jesus Christ, like we crush it with Etienne and Williams, obviously going young at the running back there. But then you just look at that wide receiver core and
immediately go 6 to midnight.
Yeah. Hill, Diggs, McLaurin, Lamb, like those, all 4 of those receivers, I feel confident are going to be in the no worse than wide receiver 14 finish on the year. Fair point, AK, but we did not take our first running back until 5, I think, whenever we took ETN.
Yeah, it was like 5'10", right?
Yeah, so whenever you're going 0 RB and you're waiting that long, you kind of have to load up on them because there's not going to be any of those guys that like I said, I like feeling like a little safer. I like having that safety blanket, so to speak. I like having my Thunder buddy with me. But whenever you wait that long, you have to take as many shots as you can because you're going to be cycling through a lot of these guys, and there aren't going to be too many waiver options left. That I'm getting sick of seeing who's the next James Robinson kind of like. If we knew who the next James Robinson was, we'd be drafting him. He wasn't drafted last year. So you have to take shots on guys like Etienne, Williams, Carter, Hunt, and then going down to guys like Pollard and Henderson and hold on to those guys just in case of injury.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to collect as many bullets as you possibly can, right? If you're punting the running back position and you're taking as many shots as you possibly can, where you are absolutely set at wide receiver. There's nobody that's on your bench that's going to be starting over the wide receivers that we have on a given week outside of buys. And so, we set that position, we lock it, right? And so with the running backs, we're just taking as many shots as we possibly can. Obviously, some of these guys are going to get dropped. We're going to cut them, and we're going to move on. And then you start playing that waiver wire game every single week. And you try to really, the smart move is not to try to wait and fight over with your fab budget and wait on stuff. It's try to have some foresight and try to look ahead a little bit, kind of pay attention to the snap counts and opportunities that people are getting and seeing kind of where things are shaking out on certain backfields. Maybe this guy's not doing an absolute anything, but he's starting to get more opportunities. You're starting to see his snap share rise a little bit and stuff like that. Paying attention there is gonna pay dividends, because I think for most part, when it comes to waivers and when it comes to how people view that, is generally speaking, people wait till guys pop to actually go pick them up instead of trying to use a little bit of foresight and look a little bit into the future on these things. Because what's going to end up happening is all these guys that people drafted past, like round 8, 9, somewhere a little bit further back than that, are going to be the guys that people immediately drop. As soon as a couple of leaks happen, these guys aren't going to do anything. I'm dropping these guys. And that's when you start going hunting for some other guys that maybe other people may have dropped. And that's kind of the approach, because every week you're working that waiver wire because you're trying to find that league winning guy.
Robbie, your thoughts on the draft, and we'll wrap this pup up.
Yeah, not too much to add. I mean, I'm the exact same way that you guys are saying. I think once you lock in those 3 wide receivers, and maybe if you want to take a 4th, I think we did a good job of just hammering the wide receiver position with those guys that if something happens, and some of them had their own standalone value as well. So I think that's the takeaway, right? That if you're going to punt the position, like Kev said, you have to load as many shots as you can later in that draft because you're good at wide receiver. And we took a couple after that. I think we took 2. We probably could have just gotten away with just taking 1 and added another guy there. But yeah, that's your main point, is that you're just trying to find 2 guys that pop, and those are going to be the guys that you're starting week in, week out. So that's a wrap, boys.
We appreciate all of you who've been rocking with us throughout the night. Please hit us with a like. Give us a subscribe if you are not yet subscribed. Appreciate Walito always coming through with those super chats. Christian rocking with us, and AK coming in at the end as well. Make sure, like I said, make sure you guys are subscribed. Gonna have a bunch of content coming out. I know we have a couple Walito, I mean,
it's about the Houston backfield, Walito. Really?
Yeah.
You
Jacoby Myers.
Let's answer it really quickly for you. Stay the fuck away from it, because it's going to be terrible. I don't care who's back there. There is zero upside. They have drafted like a team that was like a dynasty team that they never tried to rebuild from like 8 years ago. That seemed to be cool, right? I mean, what is it? Mark Ingram and David Johnson and
Rex Burkhead, baby.
Lindsey.
Oh, yeah, Lindsey, that's what it is.
It's just a crowded backfield of shit. Okay, it's just it's a bunch of bags of shit all around there. And it's really not looking like Deshaun Watson is going to be, whether this thing gets cleared, which it sounds like it's not going to be cleared anytime soon, or he's going to get traded. So I don't think Deshaun Watson plays another snap with the Texans. And yeah, stay the fuck away from that backfield.
That's it. I think we can end on that note. Subscribe. More content coming soon. We're going to have a couple more videos to release throughout the week. Appreciate all you guys. Make sure you leave a comment if there's any content you guys want to see us cover. Walito, I know you talked about some fades in drafts. We'll definitely have that coming up as well. And before we know it, draft season is going to be here. So we have a lot planned for you guys. Keep it locked in. Talk to you soon.